We're going to listen to Jim Howell at today's board meeting. Jim Howell, I believe he actually was a transit planner at Trimet 20, 30 years ago, and he's one of the more enlightened individuals in the Portland area about transit, and comes up with all kinds of great solutions, ideas, and he comes up with a very, very profound observation in this particular board meeting. And let's look at this.
Thank you for having me here, Board of Directors, President. My name is Jim Howell. I live in Northeast Portland. I'm here to ask a simple question. I think you're all aware of the growth of the metropolitan area. It's growing roughly at 1.5% a year. It has for the last decade. It's even more than that now, I believe. And also, I think you're aware of Trimet's ridership has gone down. It's gone down severely this year. It went down last year. It grew less than 4% over the last decade. So my question is this, and I looked around in various documents and I've never found that Trimet has any ridership goals, short-term or long-term. And which kind of surprises me, because it seems that that's the fundamental purpose of the agency, is to increase ridership. Are there any long-term and short-term ridership goals?
Wowzer, that he just hit them right in the gut, man. That was a gut punch. And he's right. There aren't any ridership goals. And he just outed them on something huge. Now let's hear what they do with this. This is fascinating. Thanks for that, Jim. That was just great.
I can ask the general manager to respond, and I can also give you a response from my standpoint. You want to go first?
Well, what I would do, just first of all note, is, as many of you know, we're in the construction of a 5-year business plan, and this actually come to this board in briefings in the months ahead, and hopefully for sort of recognition by the board in May. That
What is he talking about? What the hell is he talking about? He has him completely flat-footed. He can't even answer the question.
will include goals related to very detailed goals and measures and targets associated with this. Otherwise, our marching orders really come from the Regional Transportation Plan, which is adopted by Metro, and there are forecasts and adoptions. And
did you hear what he just said? He said their marching orders come from Metro. Now, we already know, those of us that follow this material, the answer to that. The answer to that is that they don't give a damn about the ridership. They care about building capital project, keep the capital project monsters fed. These people at Trimet have a dedicated funding stream, so ridership is of really no concern to them. And of course, they're not going to say that, but we know that's true. I mean, why else would they have no ridership goals? The point of Trimet is to foster development, not to provide transit. And you're not going to hear anybody say it, and I'm the disgruntled employee, but it's the truth, okay? It's the truth. And, here he is stepping all over himself trying to answer this. And, of course, you can't tell the truth, other than Metro is in charge.
part of our growth of service is to sort of try to stay true to those projections and goals that are associated with the Regional Transportation Plan. But our business plan is attempting to bring those more broad regional goals sort of down to very concrete levels over the next 5 years.
You have to laugh. I mean, his answer was such bullshit. I mean, that's a whole perfect, great level of bullshit there, Neil. You don't have an answer, but you're pretty good at the bullshit.
So, Jim, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that, the regional transportation plan is where we have worked and established the goals for where we need to be.
So here's Warner. He's got his cue from Neil. Neil sets up the little. Here's how you're going to respond to this. Here's the bullshit, and here you go, Warner. Just talk about the bullshit that I've just talked about, and it's just great to be able to view it and understand it. You know, I'm one of the few people that actually understands what's going on here because I follow this. This isn't a joke to me. This is a full-blown hobby. I enjoy this. I look forward to seeing this stuff because I get such a kick out of it.
But you bring up a very valid point. It's an issue that this board has started to talk about what we can actually do to make a difference and frankly to increase ridership in a big way. And so I think as you watch some of the work the board and the future deliberations, maybe at our next retreat, this will be a continual topic for us. So I'd say stay tuned on that. And
I could give you a
And old Jim is going to deliver another body blow right now. And, you know, it's going to be a knockout blow.
lot of advice, but obviously not here. But it seems rather shocking that you haven't had these goals for the last several decades.
Whoa, Jimmy, baby. He gives them a fucking punch. That's a hard punch. Wow.
I think the question of who...
You can see that they don't have the slightest idea what to say. I mean, they're just... The cat's got their tongue.
Whose goals and what goals, but I think you're right that we need to bring it down to a real level where we can measure it and gauge our performance in ways that we haven't done before, which is, I think, exactly what we're trying to do in our business plan. So thank you for your comments. They're
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated.
And now we're going to hear one of the chief shills and apologists who's really learned how to babble a hell of a lot of words and say much of nothing. His name is Travis Stovall, who will now defend the honor of Trimet in his best Superman style. And as far as I'm concerned, he sounds like an idiot, but let's listen to see what he comes up with.
I apologize. I've got what everybody else has got, I guess.
He's sitting next to me.
I know. I coughed on him earlier. But, Jim, what you just referenced is exactly, we were having a conversation, I think, in the Finance and Audit Committee about a month ago. And some of the same questions came up, some of the same comments that you're referencing. And I think it's something that's critical to taking a hard look at what we do, how we do it, and make sure we're listening to our stakeholders, our riders, and our partners. And one of the things that we specifically talked about there was this decline. I mean, so the decline hasn't been lost on the board or the staff. I mean, so what you've outlined has been something that we're really attuned to and attentive to. And so
they're so attuned to it that it came up at a meeting of the Finance Committee and the Audit Committee. It's, you know, we're attuned to it. We're on top of it. Yeah, let's continue.
Some of the explanation, of course, is the reduction in gas prices that we've seen, which...
Stop right there. You know, you hear this everywhere. This is one of the major excuses for the fail of public transportation. The gas prices are low, so people are going to drive. No, yeah, they're going to drive because they don't want to take the Trimet system. Okay, it's got nothing to do with money. Okay, maybe it has some effect, but it's one of the biggest red herring arguments you'll ever hear. People don't ride because they don't want to ride, and they don't want to ride because it's miserable. And if you've been auditing any of this, of the stuff I've been auditing, I've been listening to the communications, I've been following the transit tracker, I've been following the late bus. It's horrible. The service is horrible. Nobody in their right mind wants to take Trimet. Okay, it's horrible. It's unreliable as hell, man.
Moves people back to vehicles and cars. But, you know, one of the conversations that we had internally, the discussion that was had was, well, that's actually, frankly, not good enough. Not this wasn't a directive from the board, but a collective conversation where we all agreed, both staff and the board members that were in attendance, that, frankly, not good enough. That
now, this kind of bullshit you expect from Stovall. You see, well, we were all together, the staff and the board, and we all said to each other, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Yeah, right, Stovall, we believe.
Even if gas prices go down, should people be moving back to vehicles and cars when traffic is becoming more and more of an issue? We're having challenges there in regards to being able to maintain and improve the roads. All of those things are certainly something that we're very attentive to. And I wouldn't say that Trimet hasn't had specific goals. Many times when we do the full funding agreements with the federal government, they're attached there's certain target goals that are attached to those that we're looking at meeting, and so those have been developed. Once we get outside of that and the facilities become more focused on just us and maintenance in the long term. I don't know personally, but I don't believe we've had quite the same level of specific targets attached to them. But to say that we haven't had any targets over the last few decades, it's probably not accurate, because we do have specific targets that are out there that are attached. But what you've highlighted certainly is something that as a board and as a leadership team and as a staff, we are very focused on, and I appreciate you highlighting it and taking attention towards looking at that data and information and coming to the board, to this board meeting, and ensuring that we are looking at that. That just shows the commitment and dedication that you have to ensuring that we're keeping an eye on the right data and information at the right time so that we can make the right decisions. So thank you, Jim.
The ridership had been going down when gases were at high cost. So, but one of the obvious reasons, very short, is your bus service has declined. You have fewer buses out there today on the road than you did 10 years ago. And the amount of service that you're adding back now at roughly 5% is not where near essential to get back to where you were 10 and 15 years ago in the bus service. The bus service is the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jim Howell with the truth and his knockout punch to the Trimet board. And good for you, Jim. You did it, you did it, you did it. And I appreciate it, and those of us that have no voice appreciate it.